40 tons of gold, $500 million. The Nuestra Señora de Atocha is the richest shipwreck ever recovered from the ocean floor. Imagine spending 16 years of your life, every dollar you own, and risking everything you love for something that might not even exist. This isn't a fantasy. This is the true story of Mel Fisher and his obsession with finding the greatest treasure in maritime history. On September 6, 1622, the Tierra Firme fleet left Havana, Cuba, loaded with the wealth of the New World. 28 Spanish galleons carried Muso emeralds from Colombia, Potosi silver from Peru, gold from Mexico, and precious jewels destined for Philip III of Spain. But they departed too late in the season. 2 days into their journey, a massive hurricane struck near the dry Tortugas. When the storm cleared, 8 ships had vanished beneath the waves, including the crown jewel of the fleet, the Nuestra Señora de Atocha, named after the Basilica of Nuestra Señora de Atocha in Madrid. The total value in today's dollars, over 450 million. Among the souls lost was Bartolomé García de Nodal, one of Spain's most accomplished navigators. But here's what makes this story extraordinary. It's not just about the treasure, it's about the man who found it. He refused to give up, even when the ocean, the law, and tragedy itself tried to stop him. Meet Mel Fisher, a former chicken farmer from Indiana who would become the most famous treasure hunter in history. In the 1960s, Fisher had already found success recovering treasures from the 1715 fleet off the Florida coast. But when historian Eugene Lyon discovered Spanish archives at the Casa de Contratación that revealed the Atocha's cargo manifest, Fisher became obsessed. The Spanish had tried to recover the treasure in 1622, just days after the wreck. They found the Atocha sitting in 55 feet of water near the Marquesas Keys and managed to salvage 2 bronze cannons. Then another storm hit, scattering the wreckage and burying it under sand and coral. The exact location was lost to history. Fisher believed he could find it. In 1969, he moved his family to Key West, Florida, partnered with Finley Ricard, and assembled a team of divers. They had one major clue: those Spanish salvage records from 1622 that Eugene Lyon had uncovered, placing the wreck somewhere in the Florida Keys. But the ocean is vast, and the Atocha had been underwater for nearly 350 years. Fisher's team searched day after day, month after month, finding nothing. Years passed, money ran out. Fisher remortgaged his house, sold everything he owned, and convinced investors to fund the search through his company, Treasure Salvers Incorporated. His motto became legendary: "Today's the day." Every single morning, no matter how many times they came up empty, Fisher would tell his crew those same 3 words: "Today's the day." In 1973, 4 years into the search, they finally caught a break. Fisher's divers discovered 3 silver bars that matched the Atocha's manifest. They were close. Then they found Spanish cob coins, those hand-struck macuquinas worth fortunes to collectors. Then a golden cup. Then more silver bars. The artifacts formed a trail on the ocean floor, like breadcrumbs, leading to the main wreck site. During this period, Fisher's team also discovered the Henrietta Marie, a 17th century slave ship, a haunting reminder of the darker side of Spanish colonial trade. But Fisher remained focused on the Atocha. Finding artifacts was only the beginning of Fisher's problems. The state of Florida immediately filed a lawsuit claiming ownership of everything Fisher discovered. Florida argued that the wreck was part of the state's cultural heritage and that Fisher was nothing more than a looter. The legal fight lasted 8 years in the landmark case Florida versus Treasure Salvers and went all the way to the US Supreme Court. Fisher had to spend money he didn't have defending his right to search. He was fighting 2 battles simultaneously, one against the ocean to find the treasure and one in courtrooms to keep it. Finally, in 1982, the Supreme Court ruled in Fisher's favor. The Atocha lay in federal waters beyond state jurisdiction. Whatever Fisher found was legally his, but the main wreck site remained hidden. And then tragedy struck. On July the 20th, 1975, Fisher's son Dirk, his daughter-in-law Angel, and diver Rick Gage were sleeping aboard the salvage vessel Northwind when it capsized during the night. All three drowned. Mel Fisher had lost his son to the very treasure he'd been chasing. Most people would have quit. The search had already consumed 16 years, multiple fortunes, and now the lives of people he loved. But Fisher made a decision. He would find the Atocha not despite the tragedy, but because of it. Giving up would mean Dirk had died for nothing. So the search continued under the guidance of Chief Archaeologist Duncan Mathewson. 5 more years passed. Then, on July 20th, 1985, exactly 10 years after his son's death, Fisher's divers made the discovery of a lifetime. Kane Fisher radioed from the salvage vessel, his voice shaking. "Put away the charts. We've found the main pile." 400 feet long and 80 feet wide, the main section of the Atocha lay scattered across the ocean floor near the Marquesas Islands. Silver bars were stacked like cordwood. Gold chains hung on coral formations. Muso emeralds glinted in the sand. After 16.5 years of searching, Mel Fisher had found his treasure. What came up from the ocean floor was beyond imagination. The team recovered 40 tons of gold and silver, including 1 silver bar that weighed 75 pounds. They found over 100,000 Spanish pieces of 8, those legendary cob coins that became the world's first global currency. They discovered a fortune in Colombian emeralds from the Muso mines, including an uncut crystal weighing 77.76 carats that's now worth over $2 million. But the most spectacular find was the jewelry. Gold chains measuring 10 to 12 feet long, ornate gold rings set with emeralds, a poisoner's ring with a secret compartment, a delicate golden whistle, religious medallions crafted for Spanish nobility. These weren't just valuable, they were works of art that hadn't been seen in 363 years. The artifacts told stories of the people aboard the Atocha. Personal items revealed the lives of passengers and crew, a navigator's astrolabe for celestial navigation, a ship's barber surgeon's medical tools, gaming pieces for entertainment during the long voyage, rosary beads clutched by passengers as the ship went down. One of the most significant discoveries was a collection of bronze cannons, the same type the Spanish had salvaged in 1622. These massive weapons, marked with the Spanish royal seal, confirmed they'd found the right ship. So what happened to all that treasure? Fisher could have sold everything immediately and retired as one of the richest men in America. Instead, he did something unexpected. He opened a museum. The Mel Fisher Maritime Museum in Key West displays many of the Atocha's most spectacular artifacts. Fisher believed the treasure belonged to history, not just to him. He wanted people to see these 400-year-old objects and connect with the past. Of course, he did sell some pieces. Individual investors who'd funded the search through Treasure Salvers Incorporated received shares of the treasure. Rare cob coins were auctioned to collectors. Emeralds were sold to jewelers. But the most historically significant items remained in the museum, where you can still see them today. Fisher continued diving and searching for treasure until his death in 1998. His company, Treasure Salvers Incorporated, still operates today, run by his family. They're still finding artifacts from the Atocha. The wreck site is so vast that even after 40 years of excavation, new discoveries emerge every season. In fact, some estimates suggest only half of the Atocha's treasure has been recovered. Millions of dollars in artifacts still lie buried beneath the sand, waiting to be found. The remaining treasure could be worth another $200 million or more. The Atocha story teaches us something profound about human determination. Mel Fisher didn't succeed because he was lucky. He succeeded because he refused to quit. 16 years of failure, financial ruin, personal tragedy, legal battles. Any one of these obstacles would have stopped most people. But Fisher had a vision, and he pursued it with absolute conviction. Today's the day wasn't just a motto, it was a philosophy. It meant that no matter how many times you failed before, the next attempt could be the one that succeeds. Today, the Atocha treasure remains one of the richest shipwreck discoveries in history, second only to the San Jose galleon, which has been located off the coast of Colombia, but remains underwater due to ongoing legal battles between Spain, Colombia, and treasure hunters. But the real treasure might be the story itself, proof that extraordinary things are possible when you refuse to give up on your dreams. Today's the day. Those 3 words changed Mel Fisher's life and gave us one of the greatest treasure stories ever told. Next up, Blackbeard's lost gold. The most feared pirate in history supposedly left behind a fortune that's never been found. You won't want to miss it.